every year, the Indian Union budget comes out, right? And it just throws this flood of massive numbers and kind of complex terms at us. It can feel a little overwhelming, for sure, but it's so important to understand what's going on. It's about our money, after all. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and get to what really matters. Right off the bat, you see a number like this one, 12.2 lakh crores, for something called capital expenditure. I mean, that's over 12 trillion rupees. Just try to wrap your head around that. It's a number so huge, it's almost impossible to picture. But okay, beyond that headline-grabbing figure, what's the real story here? How does a number that big actually connect to your life, to your city, and to where the country is headed? Well, let's decode it. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking beyond the headlines. Then I'll give you a simple decoder kit. We'll talk about a 75-year-old tradition that was just broken, look at a tale of two economies to see why this stuff matters, and finally, we'll unpack India's new message to the rest of the world.
First up, let's get past the jargon and really start making sense of these numbers.
And to do that, you're going to need this, your budget decoder kit. Seriously, if you can get a handle on these 5 key ideas, any conversation about the budget is going to become so much clearer. We're going to walk through fiscal deficit, GDP growth, capital expenditure, self-reliance, and yeah, income tax. Don't worry, they might sound a little intimidating, but the core ideas behind them are actually pretty straightforward. Okay, first up, fiscal deficit. Forget the complicated economic theories for a second. Just think about your own household budget. If you earn, say, 10,000 rupees, but you spend 12,000, that 2,000 rupee gap is your deficit. You have to borrow to cover it. A country works the exact same way, just on a much, much bigger scale. The lower this number is, the healthier the finances. Simple as that. And you can see the story of India's progress right here. I mean, look at 2021. During the peak of the COVID pandemic, the deficit shot up to 9.2%. That makes sense, right? Lots of emergency spending. But since then, look at that, a steady, consistent drop. This shows a real commitment to financial discipline, and that is a very, very healthy sign for the economy. Next up, GDP growth. You know, a lot of global experts were predicting that India's economy was going to slow down. They were projecting growth below 6.5%. But what actually happened? The country showed some incredible resilience, clocking in at 7.4%. We didn't just meet expectations, we pretty much blew past them. Now, let's circle back to that huge 12.2 lakh crore number. It's for capital expenditure, or capex. The most important thing to get here is the difference you see on the screen. Revenue spending is for the day-to-day stuff, paying salaries, keeping the lights on. But capex? That's an investment in the future. It's about building the roads, the railways, the power plants that are going to generate growth for years and years to come. A high capex number is basically a country building for its tomorrow. And in a world that feels, well, pretty shaky these days with all the geopolitical tensions, this idea of self-reliance becomes absolutely critical. The budget really puts a focus on building an economy that's strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet, making sure our future doesn't depend on the whims of other nations. Now, this brings us to something that happened this year that was, frankly, historic. A 75-year-old tradition was broken, and it signals a massive shift in how India is presenting itself to the entire world. Since 1947, since the very beginning, every single budget speech has followed the same 2-part structure, Part A and Part B. Just think about that for a second. Through the massive economic liberalization in '91, the introduction of GST, even through the COVID crisis, this format never changed. Until now. So what exactly was the big change? It's all about Part B. It used to be this super technical, super dry report, filled with all the little details about tax slabs and exemptions. It was really written for domestic experts. But now it has been completely transformed. It's all about laying out a clear strategic direction, a vision for the future. It's a message aimed not just at us, but at the entire world. But why does all this talk about fiscal deficits and strategic messages actually matter in the real world? To really understand the stakes, let's look at a tale of 2 neighboring economies. And look, this isn't about pointing fingers at anyone. It's about seeing the very real, very profound impact of financial policy. These are the words of Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif. It's a powerful, raw reminder of the real-world consequences of a consistently high fiscal deficit. And what happens when a country gets trapped in a cycle of debt? So the crucial lesson here is this. Keeping that fiscal deficit low isn't just some boring economic exercise. It's about preserving national self-respect. It's about maintaining the freedom to make your own foreign policy decisions. And it's about making sure the country is standing on a strong foundation, free from the pressure of outside lenders.
Which brings us right back to why India broke that 75-year tradition. This wasn't just some random stylistic change. No, it was a strategic pivot with a very, very specific audience in mind. It's about speaking a new language.
The new strategic Part B of the budget speech is speaking directly to the people who control global capital. We're talking about international investors, the big rating agencies that assess a country's financial health, and those massive sovereign wealth funds. These are the players who decide where to invest trillions of dollars around the globe.
And the message to them is crystal clear. It's to show that India is fiscally responsible, that it has a clear vision for the future, and that its economic story is perfectly in sync with what global investors are looking for. It's all about building credibility and attracting investment on a global stage.
So we end with this question. This shift, it's so much more than just changing a speech format. It's a change in communication, in strategy, and how India positions itself in the world. So the real question is, by deliberately changing how it speaks about its economy, is India actually in the process of changing its economic destiny?